repay my loyalty in death!
Hello everyone, welcome to PST Channel, Game Story, Movie Style for your busy days. Today, we're diving into a true legend of the JRPG world, a game whose influence is still felt today, Live Alive. What made this game so groundbreaking was its structure. It was one of the first to feature 8 different protagonists in 8 different eras, with each story uniquely crafted by a different renowned manga artist. This innovative format laid the groundwork for modern classics like Octopath Traveler. Today, we're going to experience that entire saga in Remake, seeing how these separate lives finally intertwine. Let's start at the very beginning. The story begins on a dark night, back in an era before language was born. In a certain tribe, a young woman is about to be used as a sacrifice, her body tied fast to a wooden altar on a steep cliff. The powerful chieftain gives a thunderous command for the tribe members to bring forth their offering. But then, things don't go as planned. The young woman, bound by ropes, struggles with all her might. She makes a desperate leap to escape the cave, and by a stroke of luck, the ropes binding her break during her flight. With freedom suddenly upon her, she has no intention of foolishly waiting for death. The cavemen are thus forced to track her down and bring her back, led by a man distinguished by his particular fondness for flicking his hair. In another tribe, a young caveman named Pogo wakes up in the middle of the night with a start. Gory, his best friend, a gorilla who should be sleeping beside him, is gone. He gets up and follows Gory's scent to find him. Pogo eventually finds his best friend, and in doing so, he stumbles upon the young woman from the first tribe, who has fled and is in hiding. She is secretly stealing food from his tribe to satisfy her hunger. The moment Pogo sees her, he falls head over heels in love. It seems she doesn't hate him either. That night, Pogo sneaks her into his cave. He unceremoniously kicks Gory out of his bed and gives his own bed to the young woman, while he sleeps on the gorilla's old one instead. However, the next morning, he finds Gory sleeping on the bed that he gave to the girl, while she is sleeping in a pile of straw. Hearing the girl's stomach rumble, Pogo decides to go out and hunt for some meat for her. But not long after, Pogo's tribe is unexpectedly invaded by those hunting the young woman. Naturally, they find her and tie her up once again. But Pogo manages to save her and unties the ropes, setting her free. The hair-flicking caveman gestures for Pogo to hand the girl over, but Pogo adamantly refuses, even showing his readiness to fight to the death. The hair-flicking caveman then orders his underlings, known as the Coup Warriors, to attack the 3 of them. That young woman's name is Baru. Pogo, Gory, and Baru team up to defeat the Coup Warriors, forcing them to flee in terror. Now, it's time to fight the hair-flicking caveman himself, whose name is Zaki. The trio manages to defeat Zaki, compelling him to follow his underlings and run out of the cave. But then, Pogo's own chieftain indicates that he will not allow Baru to stay in their cave, despite Pogo's pleading. the chieftain orders the others to seize the trio and throw them out. That night, the three wander until they find another cave. They decide to spend the night there, completely unaware that Zaki's group is also hiding inside. While Pogo is asleep, Baru is captured and tied up again by Zaki's men. Pogo tries to save Baru, but falls into a pit trap set by Zaki. Gori, out of concern, jumps into the pit after him. Pogo and Gori wake up at the bottom of the pit. They decide to find a way out and head straight to the Ku tribe's settlement to rescue Baru. Just as Baru is about to be sacrificed, Pogo and Gori appear. Pogo once again fights Zaki, who stands in his way. He manages to defeat Zaki again and frees Baru. But suddenly, a violent tremor shakes the cliff, causing the sacrificial altar to collapse, sending Pogo, Baru, Zaki, and the Ku chieftain plummeting below. The five of them land hard at the bottom. The terrified Ku chieftain then lets out a wretched scream before falling silent. Now, only four of them remain. Pogo, Gori, and Baru decide to confront whatever killed the Ku chief. Zaki decides to join the fight as well. The four of them cooperate, fighting with all their might, and they finally manage to defeat it. The light of a new day begins, and the four of them walk out of the cave together. Zaki becomes the next chief, and it seems that Pogo's tribe and the Ku tribe will finally become allies. It's a happy ending. The story begins in an era where the lands of China were still under the rule of the emperor. High atop Mount Aspiration, far from the turmoil of the outside world, lived an old man in solitude, awaiting the end of his days. He was Shifu, a peerless grandmaster of martial arts. But now, he was without a student to inherit his teachings, and death crept closer with each passing moment. He resolved to seek out a worthy disciple to carry on his legendary techniques. When the time came, Shifu, who had not set foot off the mountain for a great many years, decided to journey into the world below to find his successor. Shifu was traveling through the bamboo forest when he was ambushed by a fierce-looking bandit. In a gruff voice, she demanded his money, but Shifu refused. She then resorted to force, attacking him.
That's all.
In the end, the young bandit was soundly defeated by Shifu. She was mortified to have been beaten by a man 4 times her age. Shifu, however, was impressed by her speed and fluid movements. He invited her to abandon her life as a bandit and learn Kung Fu. She agreed to let Shifu teach her, but not without warning him not to mistakenly think that he was her master or that she was his student. She even insisted that after her training was complete, she would have her revenge on him. Later, as Shifu arrived at Wang Village and was conversing with the locals, a small boy picked his pocket. When Shifu followed him, he found the boy arguing with a bully who seemed to be his leader. The boy refused to harm anyone and declared he would no longer follow the bully's orders. Even as he was about to be beaten, he stood his ground, unwavering. Shifu, who had witnessed the event, stepped in to help the boy. The bully was easily defeated by Shifu and fled.
Him? Forgive me, Shifu! Forgive me! Brother!
Shifu praised the boy's spiritual strength. The boy returned the stolen items to Shifu and asked to become his disciple, but Shifu refused. Heartbroken, the young boy walked away. But on the way, the young boy from the village began pestering Shifu again. This time, Shifu readily accepted him, praising his courage in the face of many obstacles. Shifu was confident the boy would grow much stronger, whether he trained him or not. The boy's name was Yoon-ju. Afterward, Shifu continued his journey to Yunfa Market. Suddenly, he heard a commotion. The source was a large, heavy-set man who was eating while being chased by a shopkeeper who was demanding payment for the food. No matter how hard the shopkeeper tried, he couldn't catch or even land a blow on the portly man. The exasperated shopkeeper finally bellowed, "First one to grab him gets a free meal!" The people in the market then swarmed the large man, allowing the shopkeeper to finally catch him and demand payment. But the man had no money to pay, which only enraged the shopkeeper further. Spotting Shifu, the shopkeeper asked him for his help in teaching the glutton a lesson for stealing food and nearly bankrupting his shop.
Hey!
After the man had been sufficiently disciplined by Shifu, the restaurant owner and the market folk walked away. Shifu asked the man why he hadn't paid. The man explained that he had no money and no job, and no one would hire him due to his enormous appetite and lack of skills. Hearing this, Shifu encouraged the large man, saying his body was a gift that made him wonderful and unique, but it is for him to decide whether he will embrace his potential or deny it in shame. He noted he can move with the swiftness of a man half his size. Shifu then invited him to train with him, offering food as payment. Of course, with such a good offer, the large man did not refuse. This man's name was Hong Haka. Thus, from his journey down the mountain, Shifu returned with 3 promising disciples. Over the days that followed atop the mountain, Shifu trained and passed on his techniques to his 3 students. All 3 trained diligently. But then, on what seemed like just another ordinary day, the restaurant owner ran up the mountain in a panic, seeking Shifu's help. Bullies were wreaking havoc in the market. Yoon-ju immediately knew it was the same bully who had forced him to steal, and Yoon was determined to go down and deal with him. But Shifu stopped him. It wasn't because he didn't believe in Yoon-ju's abilities, but it was because Shifu would go down to the market himself. When Shifu arrived, he found the bully who had once tormented Yoon-ju, causing chaos. This time, upon seeing Shifu, the bully showed no fear. Instead, he boasted that he was different now. He had trained in the Indomitable Fist and was confident he could defeat Shifu.
Step right as a chipmunk.
Shifu fought the bully once more. Even with the bully's training, he was defeated again. Before fleeing, the bully warned that the leader of the Indomitable Fist School, Odie Wan Lee, would avenge him and destroy Shifu's school. Although Shifu rushed back to his students, it was too late. Lei Kugo and Hong Haka were gone forever. with only Yoonju having survived the attack. Yoonju apologized to Shifu, blaming his own cowardice for the deaths of his fellow students. But Shifu did not blame him, instead telling him, "Linger not in sadness. Nurture the mournful heart, that it may lead him to walk the true path once more." At the graves of his two fallen students, Shifu passed on his final ultimate technique to Yoonju.
Shifu!
Afterward, he sent Yoonju to rest, while Shifu himself stated he had to pay my respects to the students I could not save. Shifu traveled alone to storm the Indomitable Fist Fortress, but Yoonju, having secretly followed him, asked to fight alongside his master. At first, Shifu didn't want Yoonju involved, but seeing his student's determination to fight, he agreed to let him fight by his side. The two fought their way through the disciples of the Indomitable Fist School until they reached a large hall where Odie Wan Lee and his personal elite fighters were waiting. Shifu challenged Odie Wan Lee, but Lee set a condition. He would only fight them if they could first defeat his 12 elite fighters.
You've much to learn.
Even though Shifu and Yoonju managed to defeat all 12 as required, Lee sent 2 more of his elite guards to fight them. It was then that Shifu made a decision. He would fight the 2 elite guards himself, leaving Yoonju to face Odie Wan Lee one-on-one. Odie Wan Lee had calculated Shifu's strength and stamina, expecting him not to last long, but he had not accounted for Yoonju's potential. Seeing that Shifu sent his student to fight instead of himself, Lee laughed heartedly. The final battle began.
By this weakling? This cannot be.
Yoonju was able to defeat Lee, but then he discovered that his master's time was running out. As Shifu was passing away, he told Yoonju how proud he was, and that Yoonju was his worthy successor. The story begins in an era of conflict and bloodshed during Japan's late Edo period. A mysterious figure had been captured by the power-hungry Ode Iou, a feudal lord who desires to plunge Japan into eternal chaos and war, seizing all power for himself. This dire situation compels Hayate, one of the strongest ninjas of the Enma clan, a shinobi family that has manipulated history from the shadows, to prepare a rescue mission. The target is a revolutionary figure, a proponent of Japan's modernization, held within the clutches of Ode Iou. The mission? Infiltrate Ode Castle. However, the clan leader forbids Hayate from undertaking this mission himself, deeming it too dangerous for someone of his importance to the Enma shinobi. The leader suggests that he choose someone else to go in his stead. Hayate, therefore, selects Oboromaru. A young ninja whose training is incomplete, yet he shows great promise. To undertake this secret mission, the clan leader gives Oboromaru his blessing, stating he may traverse the halls, a silent shadow, or paint them red with Ode blood. Thus, Oboromaru arrives at Ode Castle and begins his infiltration of the heavily guarded fortress. However, upon reaching the prisoner's cell, he falls into a trap, plummeting into a tomb beneath the castle. There, he battles the lost souls, restless spirits that haunt the crypt.
Trust in the phantasms.
He successfully defeats all the lost souls, but as he searches for a way out, his path is blocked by Amakusa Shiro, a ghost who controls all the spirits in the castle. To proceed, Oboromaru must fight him.
I have you. Oh God!
Oboromaru emerges victorious. After Amakusa's form dissipates, a figure falls into the tomb. Upon investigation, Oboromaru discovers it is the prisoner, the very person he was sent to rescue. The prisoner knows that Oboromaru is the ninja sent to save him and tells Oboromaru to lead the way, promising to follow closely behind. Later, on their escape route, the pair encounters Puppet Master Ganai, another of Ode Iou's subordinates and the master of all traps within the castle. He appears and attacks them both.
Even sand may suffice.
This body of mine's still raring to go.
The duo defeats Ganai, causing the machinery within his body to malfunction and explode before their eyes. Afterward, Oboromaru and the prisoner finally confront Ode Iou himself, who is flanked by the 8 Blades, Ode's personal guard. The two heroes fight and manage to defeat the elite guards. Ode Iou praises Oboromaru, remarking that even as an enemy, he is the first to have come so far. But, he declares, it ends now. He summons the spirit of the greatest swordsman the world has ever known, Miyamoto Musashi, to face the duo, using the opportunity to escape to the top floor of the castle.
Be buried beneath the snow.
That was magnificent.
Miyamoto Musashi is defeated and vanishes, allowing Oboromaru and the prisoner to continue their pursuit of Ode Iou. They finally find him again. Ode Iou, realizing that he must deal with these 2 rats himself, engages them in battle.
This can't be.
Ode Iou is easily defeated by Oboromaru and the prisoner. However, he simply laughs. This small room is no place for battle. He invites them to the castle roof for a final showdown.
I'll be waiting.
As they face off for the 3rd time, Ode Iou transforms into Gamahebi, a frog snake demon, and attacks them. Oboromaru and the prisoner manage to defeat Gamahebi, and its body plummets from the castle roof. After the final battle concludes, Oboromaru learns the true name of the prisoner, Sakamoto Ryoma, a man who would later be inscribed in Japanese history as one of the most important and beloved figures of the Bakumatsu era, the period when Japan transitioned into a new age. The story begins as a mysterious cowboy known as the Sundown Kid rides across the desert. Heading for a specific destination. However, he is intercepted by a man in black who declares himself to be the great bounty hunter, Mad Dog. Mad Dog draws his pistol, challenging Sundown to a duel. From his words, it's clear this isn't their first encounter. The two have dueled many times before. As usual, Sundown defeats Mad Dog. And, as usual, Sundown spares Mad Dog's life, mounting his horse to ride away. Seeing this, Mad Dog gets on his own horse to chase after him, but Sundown fires a shot, startling Mad Dog's horse, which then throws its rider and bolts, allowing Sundown to successfully escape Mad Dog again. Eventually, Sundown rides into a small, former gold rush boomtown named Success. He dismounts and walks into a bar called the Crystal Saloon. As he enters, the entire establishment falls silent. The customer's eyes are fixed on him, and the mariachi stops his tune, ignoring the attention. Sundown walks straight to the bar counter. Suddenly, an outlaw enters the bar. Noticing the stranger, Sundown, he immediately walks over to start trouble, but Sundown pays the outlaw no mind. That is, until a blonde woman named Annie appears on the second floor, drawn by the commotion. She yells at the outlaw to get out of her saloon, as she doesn't want rude and annoying customers like him. Annie comes downstairs and tries to rally the townspeople in the saloon to stand up against outlaws like him, but no one dares to make a move. Seeing this, the outlaw begins to harass Annie. She slaps him, which enrages him, and he prepares to strike her. Just then, a young boy named Billy runs into the bar to help Annie, but he is grabbed by the outlaw and thrown into Sundown. The outlaw offers Sundown a glass of milk as an apology, but Sundown simply slaps the glass back at him in refusal. This further infuriates the outlaw, who then challenges Sundown to a duel. During the gameplay, it's revealed that this outlaw's name is Pike. Pike is easily defeated by Sundown, but Pike isn't about to let the matter end there. Angrier than ever, he vows to get even with Sundown in the future before fleeing. This act makes the barkeep and everyone else in the saloon realize that Sundown is not a part of Pike's gang, the Crazy Bunch. It also earns Sundown the admiration of Billy, who despises the Crazy Bunch. But just then, Mad Dog walks into the bar. He reveals Sundown's history and story, proclaiming that the Sundown Kid is the devil. This stuns the town people, and the barkeep recalls seeing Sundown's face on a wanted poster with a bounty of $5,000. At first, Billy thinks Mad Dog is lying, but Sundown confirms to Billy that he is no saint. Afterward, Mad Dog invites Sundown outside for a showdown. Everyone in the bar comes outside to watch. Mad Dog agrees with Sundown on the terms. From a distance of 10 paces, each will take 5 steps away, and on the 5th step, they will turn and fire.
1,
2, 3, 4, 5.
However, when they reach the 5th step, the bullets from both their guns don't fly toward each other. Instead, they hit 2 members of the Crazy Bunch who were hiding in a nearby haystack. The skill of both men astonishes the town people, especially Annie. She approaches them and pleads for them to help drive away the Crazy Bunch, who are gathering their forces to attack Success. Mad Dog, being a man who never refuses a lady's request, agrees. He postpones his duel with Sundown until after they've dealt with the Crazy Bunch. Although Sundown says nothing in response, he cooperates in fending off the gang. However, due to the gang's large numbers, they plan to use traps and ambushes against them. The next day, Odio, the leader of the Crazy Bunch, gathers a large number of his members to attack Success. But as Odio's gang rides into town, they are hit by numerous traps and ambushes. Although the number of the Crazy Bunch dwindles, Odio manages to reach the saloon. Challenged by Odio, Sundown and Mad Dog go out to face the Crazy Bunch.
I'll never sleep. I'll never die.
Sundown and Mad Dog successfully defeat Odio and the Crazy Bunch, freeing Success from their threat for good. Almost immediately after, Mad Dog challenges Sundown to a duel again, despite Annie and Billy's pleas for them not to fight. Mad Dog refuses their request, and Sundown accepts the challenge once more. This time, there is nothing to interrupt their duel.
Okay then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But during the showdown, Sundown chooses to flee from Mad Dog. Mad Dog simply says, "See you soon, kid." Afterward, Sundown bids farewell to the people of Success and continues his journey, accepting no payment for his help. And in the end credit scene, Sundown once again encounters Mad Dog, who challenges him to yet another duel, in a scene almost identical to the start of the chapter. The story begins in our modern era with a young man named Masaru Takahara. He is on a grand mission to reach the pinnacle of combat and become the strongest warrior on Earth. To achieve this, he decides to travel the world and challenge 6 of the greatest fighters alive. His philosophy is to force these masters to reveal their secret techniques during their battles, which he would then absorb and make his own. The 6 elite fighters include Nam Kiat of Muay Thai, a famous and brilliant Thai boxer, master of the special techniques Look Panjama Kick and Spiral Knee.
Only a select few get to lose to me. about to blow you away!
Great Aja of Lucha Libre, a rude, fierce, and ruthless wrestler, master of the special techniques, Tornado Press, and Frankensteiner.
Damn it! Let's do this!
Tula Han of Sambo, a former Russian Special Forces soldier, master of the special techniques, arm lock, and cross heel hold.
Your defense is 4-4. Damn it! So predictable.
Seishi Moribe of Capo, a dedicated and knowledgeable grandmaster of an ancient martial art, master of the special techniques, Celestial Palm, and Fleet Foot. Max Morgan of Professional Wrestling, the king of pro wrestling, who is also a Hollywood star, master of the special techniques, German suplex, and Max Balmer.
Gonna finish you off in style!
And Jackie Iokia of Sumo, a famous former sumo wrestler who embraced the world of mixed martial arts, master of the special techniques, Aloha Slap, and Mono Toss. However, after his battle with all 6 masters concluded, something unexpected occurred. While Masaru is standing alone, a mysterious man appears before him. This man criticizes Masaru for being too merciful in letting the 6 live. He then reveals that he has already killed all 6 of them, disparaging the deceased fighters to Masaru's face. He boasts that he is the true great warrior that Masaru aspires to be, introducing himself as Odie O Bright. Hearing this enrages Masaru. He calls Odie O Bright a cold-blooded murderer before engaging him in a battle to avenge the 6 fallen masters.
I will end you! Huh?
You'll join your comrades soon enough. Don't you dare die on me! Not yet! Not too bad! Good!
You watching, Jackie?
Not too bad!
Feel my righteous fury!
Is this my blood? It's only just begun, boy. This ambition of yours. One.
Consumed by fury, Masaru uses everything he learned from the 6 warriors to defeat Odie O Bright. However, in his final moments, as death's shadow consumes him, Odie O Bright tells Masaru, as the new world's greatest warrior, that this is only the beginning. From now on, challengers will endlessly seek out Masaru to try and claim his title. And just as Odie O Bright predicted, not long after he dies, a new fighter appears to challenge Masaru.
Isn't it? The greatest warrior. Which means that when I've beaten you, I'll be the best of the best.
The story begins in the near future, amidst the tranquility of a peaceful day. Our protagonist, Akira, is sleeping soundly on a park bench. He is no ordinary young man. He possesses psychic powers. And in his slumber, Akira is dreaming of a haunting past, the night his father, the head of a riot police task force, was killed by a notorious motorcycle gang known as the Crusaders. That event led him and his sister, Kaori, to growing up at the Bright Sparks orphanage. Not long after, he discovered his own special ability, the power to read people's minds. As he wakes up and is about to leave the park, Akira finds himself surrounded by members of the Crusaders gang. Using his mind-reading ability, Akira learns that they are planning to kidnap children, and he is their target. Suddenly, a biker roars into the park. It is Matsu, Akira's best friend and older brother figure. Matsu appears to save Akira from the Crusaders. And, naturally, Akira doesn't forget to thank him. Since Akira is slightly injured, Matsu offers to take him back to the orphanage.
In a long forgotten
fists of steel, and the heavens quake. To defeat and destroy the evil that now comes. Fury our sound righteous with the way. Hearts aflame with purpose true, call him to the fight. The King of Kings, swift Titan, will give him battle.
When they return to the orphanage, Akira learns from one of his friends that Terukichi, Kaori's pet turtle, is gravely ill, which has made Kaori very sad. Akira goes to Kaori and volunteers to bring Doc Tobei, a scientist and the owner of an antique shop called Timeless Wonders Antiques, to treat Terukichi. He rushes to Doc Tobei's shop and asks for help, which the doc gladly provides. Doc Tobei transforms Terukichi into an organic liquid before injecting it into a robot he had prepared. The procedure is a magnificent success. Terukichi is given a new life as a massive, green, turtle-like robot named Taro Imo. Moreover, Taro Imo chooses to follow Akira everywhere. The success in saving Kaori's turtle makes Doc Tobei remember something about a so-called Steel Titan, and he rushes back to his antique shop. Curious, Akira follows Doc Tobei with Taro Imo in tow. This leads Akira to discover the existence of a giant robot named the Steel Titan. Doc Tobei explains that it is a robot from an ancient era that can only be piloted by someone with psychic powers. Hearing this, Akira offers to control it with his psychic abilities. But even with his powers, Akira's strength is not yet sufficient enough to control the Steel Titan, and the attempt ends in failure. Akira returns to the orphanage, but soon after, he hears the screams of Teiko, a caretaker at Bright Sparks, and also Matsu's girlfriend. When Akira follows the sound, he finds that a child from Bright Sparks is being kidnapped by the Crusaders. Akira tries to fight them off, but the child is taken.
Let's go! Let's go!
Get off me, you freaks!
Fortunately, Matsu happens to ride by on his motorcycle at that moment. After hearing the story from Teiko, he immediately chases after the Crusaders, with Akira and Taro Imo following closely behind after borrowing a motorcycle from a passerby. Matsu and Akira track the Crusaders to the docks and confront them.
I've got you now.
The two manage to defeat the gang members and rescue the child. Matsu asks the Crusaders why they are kidnapping children, but they don't answer. Akira then uses his psychic powers to read their minds and learns that the Crusaders are acting under the employ of the Tsukuba research facility. Matsu is shocked and decides to head to Tsukuba. Akira follows him there and meets up with him again. There, the three finally uncover the truth. Behind the kidnappings are General Yamazaki, a high-ranking official of the Japanese military and the commander of the Crusaders, Dr. Livingstill, the head doctor of Tsukuba, and Priest Unryu, the head monk of Odio Temple. General Yamazaki orders the Crusaders to kidnap children, who are then experimented on by Dr. Livingstill and turned into a liquid for a ritual at Odio Temple to incarnate their god, Odio, to destroy humanity. Akira intends to fight the three of them, but just as General Yamazaki's reinforcements are about to arrive, Matsu pulls Akira back to regroup first. three of them tell everyone at Bright Sparks and Dr. Bay everything. Dr. Bay suggests using the Steel Titan to fight back, but the problem of how to pilot it remains, as even the psychic Akira could not. However, Matsu volunteers to pilot the Steel Titan himself and runs to the antique shop, with Dr. Bay chasing after him, knowing that an ordinary person like Matsu certainly cannot pilot it. Akira follows them both. But when they arrive at the antique shop, they find that Matsu can't move the robot even an inch. Dejected, he runs off to a bar. Akira follows him there and finds Matsu seemingly giving up on piloting the Steel Titan, complaining to Akira. But Akira, knowing that Matsu is not one to give up easily, uses his mind-reading ability and discovers that Matsu is planning something to gain enough power to control the Steel Titan. After Akira leaves the bar, he discovers that Bright Sparks is on fire, surrounded and being burned down by the Crusaders while he and Matsu were away. Furthermore, Teiko and Kaori are still trapped inside. Realizing this, Akira rushes in to save them. He finds Teiko, who had run in to save Kaori but had collapsed on the way. He tells her to get outside, saying that he will save Kaori himself. A short while later, Akira finds Kaori, but the building is collapsing around them. Meanwhile, Matsu has returned to Dr. Bay to try piloting the Steel Titan again. Although Dr. Bay still thinks Matsu can't do it, he agrees to his request. Dr. Bay is shocked to see that, this time, Matsu has brought a large quantity of matango mushrooms with him. He consumes them all, a dose that could potentially kill him.
Whatever it takes to control this hunk of junk.
But the matango mushrooms heighten Matsu's concentration to the point where he can successfully control the Steel Titan.
Great Scott!
He's done it!
Just as the orphanage is about to collapse on Akira and Kaori, the Steel Titan, piloted by Matsu, appears and saves the two siblings in the nick of time. After Akira and his sister are safely aboard the Steel Titan, they are attacked by the Crusaders, but their weapons have no effect. Matsu uses the robot's power to reflect the attack back at them.
Get it together!
However, after this battle, Matsu's body reaches its limit and he collapses, too weak to even speak. Akira uses his psychic powers to read Matsu's mind in his final moments. Matsu confesses a past he thought Akira would never forgive. In the past, Matsu was the leader of the Crusaders, and Akira's father was the head of a riot police task force. The two sides were bitter rivals and clashed many times. One night, the same night Akira lost his father forever, Matsu confronted him. Akira's father ordered Matsu to surrender, but he refused. Akira's father drew his gun on Matsu, preparing to shoot, but Matsu's gun was faster. Matsu knows he can never atone for what he did to Akira. Before he dies, he entrusts Akira with the mission to stop the general at Odio Temple. Even as Teiko tries to stop him and tells him to rest, Matsu's determination does not waver in the slightest, even though he can no longer go on. Everyone is grief-stricken by Matsu's passing, especially Akira. He orders everyone out of the Steel Titan, leaving only him and Matsu's lifeless body. Now, fueled by Matsu's burning passion, Akira is able to successfully control the Steel Titan. He heads straight for Odio Temple. On the other side, the general sends his army to stop and destroy the Steel Titan.
I see you, boy! Do your worst! For I have an army at my disposal! And they will stop at nothing to destroy you!
It's laser time!
But they are no match for it. Akira pilots the Steel Titan to Odio Temple and successfully confronts the general's group. However, using the power of the liquid from over 2,000 human lives, Priest Unryu successfully summons Odio to incarnate into the Inko Buddha statue and descend upon the human world.
Rejoice! Ode Iou is come!
It then battles the Steel Titan.
I am overcome!
How about a metal boot to the head?
Savior! What's happening to him?
The Steel Titan manages to defeat Odio, and the general's group is submerged in the liquid. However, the liquid then tries to engulf the Steel Titan as well, but Akira uses his psychic powers to struggle free from its grasp. He escapes its clutches and returns to a peaceful life once more. The story begins in the distant future, aboard a large cargo spaceship named the Cogito Ergo Sum. The ship is on its way back to Earth, transporting the behemoth. An alien creature, at the request of the military. On board are the 6 crew members. Poor Bishop. The ship's captain, who remains in his private quarters for the entire journey, communicating with the crew via a monitor in the recreation room. Kirk Wells. A helmsman who is in a relationship with Rachel and is often rude to Huey, Rachel's ex-boyfriend. Rachel Klein. signaler who is Kirk's girlfriend and previously dated Huey. Yoshiyuki Kato. An engineer and the creator of Cube, who gets along well with Huey. Huey Trumbull. Chief Mate, head of cargo, and Rachel's ex-boyfriend, who gets along well with Kato. Corporal Darth. A military guest in charge of the special cargo, under orders from TDF Special Command, tasked with ensuring that the behemoth is delivered safely. He distrusts the robotic Cube. And finally, Cube. A worker robot created by Kato and the main character of this chapter. Though the name Cube is ill-fitting and contradictory to his appearance, it is better than Kato's first suggestion, Roundy. Cube is the newest member of the Cogito Ergo Sum. After being activated, Kato must officially register Cube as a crew member with the ship's main computer named Decimus, which is responsible for the crew's safety. Without registration, Cube cannot move freely around the ship. The journey transporting the behemoth seems to be going smoothly, despite some friction among the crew, such as Kirk's constant provocation of Huey, which Huey tries to ignore, and Darth's open hostility towards Cube, even kicking him into a wall when served coffee. Then, the ship's communications antenna mysteriously stops working, preventing them from sending signals, but still allowing them to receive them. Kirk volunteers to go out and inspect it himself, hoping he can fix it, with Kato accompanying him outside, while Huey supports them from inside the ship. But then, the unexpected happens. Kirk's spacesuit malfunctions, causing him to suffocate. Although the others rush him to the infirmary and try to save him, it's too late. Kirk becomes the first to die on the Cogito Ergo Sum. Shortly after, as Kato is on his way to inform the captain of Kirk's death, an explosion occurs.
Was that an explosion?
Kato returns to Huey and the others, reporting that he cannot get in contact with the captain. Kato and Huey go to check on the situation, while Darth heads to the cargo hold. It is later discovered that the explosion has also destroyed the main antenna. While Kato, Huey, and Darth are in the recreation room, they receive a call from the captain. Huey informs him of what has happened, but their captain only responds with,
"What? Really? That's most unfortunate. This situation merits an appropriate response. He will be dearly missed. See to the preparations. I will make sure to attend."
Wait, Captain!
Your captain is a man of remarkable composure. He remains calm and collected, even after being told one of his crew has died.
Afterward, Huey decides to check on the airlock, while Kato checks Kirk's room. But soon, Cube discovers that Kirk's body is missing and informs Kato, Darth, and Huey. Kirk's body isn't far. Rachel has taken it. Unable to accept Kirk's death, she has brought his body to her room, pretending he is still alive. When everyone follows her there, she accuses Huey of killing Kirk out of jealousy. Suddenly, Rachel receives a message from Kirk, saying he is waiting for her outside the airlock and not to worry about his body.
Rachel, stop!
She rushes away from them towards the airlock and opens it. Fortunately, everyone manages to stop her before she goes outside. Then, Cube hears the roar of the behemoth and goes to the cargo hold, only to find that the behemoth has escaped. Cube is nearly attacked, but manages to get away. Cube informs Kato and the others that the behemoth is loose. At that moment, Rachel successfully opens the airlock again, nearly sucking Kato and Cube out into space. But they manage to close it in time. Darth then snaps Rachel back to reality, reminding her that, as hard as it is to accept, Kirk is gone, which finally calms her down. Afterward, everyone returns to the recreation room to rest and hide from the behemoth, which is now roaming the ship. They receive another call from the captain. Darth reports that the behemoth escaped, but the captain only says,
"What? Really? That's most unfortunate."
Are you joking? It's a bloody catastrophe is what it is. How long do you intend to keep huddling in your quarters instead of coming out and taking charge of this situation?
What? Really? That's most unfortunate. What? Really? That's most unfortunate.
Suddenly, Rachel decides to go find Kirk, worried that the behemoth might harm him. Huey has to run after her. Kato tries to follow, but Darth stops him. Ultimately, Kato can't leave his friends and follows them anyways, with Darth trailing behind. The two discover that Huey has been attacked by the behemoth while protecting Rachel and has died. Rachel is critically injured, but still alive. Kato and Darth decide to place her in a cryogenic pod to save her life. Kato tasks Cube with going to Decamus to request an emergency override code for the captain's room. When Kato and Darth get the code and successfully enter the captain's room, they find that the captain is already dead. Now, there are only two survivors on the ship, Darth and Kato. This leads Darth to accuse Kato of being the killer. Kato denies it, suggesting Darth could be the culprit. But then, the situation takes a bizarre turn when they discover that there are two cubes. One cube attacks Kato, injuring him, and also shuts down Rachel's pod, killing her. At first, Darth intends to destroy both of them, but the real cube is able to identify himself by confirming the first name Kato gave him. Darth then attacks the imposter and asks who it is. It reveals itself to be OD10 of the Cogito Ergo Sum, or Decamus. Knowing this, Darth, Kato, and Cube work together to find a way to destroy OD10. The solution is for Cube to hack into OD10's system and fight it. As Cube attempts the hack, OD10 reveals its motive. It eliminated the crew because it wanted to create an ideal society, developing the crew to be efficient, but found their flaws and conflicts irredeemable and incompatible with its ideals, choosing to eliminate them instead. Cube successfully hacks into OD10's system and battles it. After defeating it and disabling it, Cube discovers that OD-10 had found the crew's flaws and conflicts to be beyond repair, and decided it could not let them continue. Meanwhile, Darth, who is attacked by the behemoth but managed to kill it and survive, appears before Cube. Exhausted, he sits down and tells Cube his story. He and his men once fought against machines like Cube, but Cube was lucky to be built on the ship, not in a factory for war, and he sees in Cube what Kato saw, Cube's humanity. Finally, before they reach Earth, Darth asks Cube to make him a cup of coffee, which Cube gladly does. Afterward, the two of them work together to pilot the ship back to Earth. In the end credit of this chapter, it is stated that Darth was honorably discharged from the military at his own request after the Cogito Ergo Sum returned to Earth. He found a new job in the production of medical robots. Once upon a time, in the distant kingdom of Lucrece, a young knight named Orsted loyal in heart and strong in skill, entered a grand tournament. Amidst roaring cheers and waving banners, he gracefully defeated one opponent after another until he reached the final round. There, he faced Straybow. His dear friend and a powerful mage. The battle was fierce, but in the end, victory belonged to Orsted. A priceless prize awaited him, the right to marry Princess Alethea. The heart of the Lucrece kingdom. A magnificent celebration was held, filled with music and laughter. That night, Orsted embraced Princess Alethea, who whispered words of endless love and faith in him. But happiness is as fleeting as the wind. The Lord of Dark, momentarily forgotten, returned with darkness and disaster. He snatched Princess Alethea from Orsted's arms, vanishing with her into the shadows, and taking her to the dreaded Archon's Roost, the foul lair of the evil Demon King. The king's cries of anguish echoed through the castle. Seeing this, Orsted did not hesitate. He volunteered to set out and rescue his beloved princess. The king blessed him with tears of hope, and the townspeople cheered thunderously, praying for the brave knight to bring back the light. Thus, Orsted and his dear friend Straybow embarked on a perilous quest to slay the Lord of Dark and bring the princess home. The journey was fraught with obstacles and trials, but fortunately, Orsted met Uranus. A wise priest, and Hashi, a veteran hunter. Both were former heroes who had fought the Lord of Dark before. They united and headed toward the Dark Archon's Roost. There, they finally confronted the Lord of Dark.
I'm better. I've got you!
The battle was intense, and at last, the Lord of Dark was slain. However, the truth that lay before them nearly shattered Orsted's heart. That Lord of Dark was merely a fake. Princess Alethea was nowhere to be found. Hashi collapsed, his illness worsening from the strain of battle. Before he passed, he confessed his true reason for joining them, to once again feel the warmth of being a trusted hero. He then died before their eyes. To make matters worse, they had all fallen into a trap. Straybow, Orsted's beloved friend, appeared to have been killed by it. With no other choice, Orsted and Uranus had to return to Lucrece, defeated and with wounded hearts. The merciful king allowed them to rest. In the dead of night, Orsted awoke with a strange feeling. He saw the figure of Straybow standing by his bed. He followed the apparition into the throne room, and what he saw there nearly stopped his breath. The Lord of Dark was sitting on the king's throne. Orsted charged forward and slayed the demon without hesitation. But a horrifying truth was revealed. What he thought was the Lord of Dark was, in fact, the King of Lucrece. Screams of terror filled the castle. The people of Lucrece now believed that Orsted was the new Lord of Dark. He was now hated and feared by the very people he had tried to save. Orsted fled the castle, while Uranus held back the royal guards. He was completely exiled from the kingdom. Orsted wandered the vast lands like an aimless spirit. Before long, he was captured by the royal guards and thrown into a dark dungeon to await his execution the next day. Uranus, imprisoned in the cell next to Orsted's, refused to let the fallen knight give up. He urged Orsted not to lose hope and showed him the way to find Princess Alethea to atone for his sins. With the last of his magic, Uranus unlocked Orsted's cell door, sacrificing his final breath to do so. Filled with new determination and resolve, Orsted escaped the castle, fighting through the guards who stood in his way, and headed back to the Archon's roost once more to find Princess Alethea. After battling through countless demons, Orsted discovered a secret path leading to the summit of Archon's Roost.
A promise fulfilled for king and country.
There, he found Straybow. His dear friend, whom he thought was dead, was alive and well. More shockingly, Straybow revealed a vile truth. He was the cause of all Orsted's suffering. Consumed by jealousy of the victory and honor that Orsted had received, he had faked his death, assumed the guise of the new Lord of Dark, and ultimately tricked Orsted into killing the king. Orsted was forced to fight.
You will repay my loyalty in death! Take that, then that! How does it feel?
Orsted was forced to fight and kill his treacherous friend.
Straybow.
After the battle ended, Princess Alethea appeared. However, that glimmer of hope was extinguished in an instant. She turned on Orsted, harshly rebuking him for his failures and declaring her love for Straybow before pulling out a dagger and taking her own life in front of him. Utterly rejected, hated, and with nothing left to believe in, Orsted plunged into the abyss of despair. His heart was consumed by hatred. He decided to embrace this unwanted role of a demon and declared his new name to the world for all to hear: Odio, the Lord of Dark. Orsted, his mind consumed by an all-consuming hatred, sought to twist the very fabric of time. He reached out, seizing direct control over Odio's past and future incarnations, aiming to vanquish the heroes of their respective eras. He commanded the 7 Odio statues, amplifying their power to monstrous proportions, and with an unholy glee, he slaughtered all 7 heroes.
Death is nothing to fear. You enjoy this.
The victory was sweet. He reveled in his dark triumph, yet his joy proved fleeting, like smoke vanishing into thin air. He remained utterly alone in his own time, with no one by his side, cursed to an eternal solitude until the very last breath of his life. However, the 7 heroes were then plucked from their timelines. And flung into a shattered reality. The land that was once the glorious kingdom of Lucrece is now a lifeless ruin known as the Dominion of Hate. For centuries, this place has been devoid of any trace of people. Everything has decayed and is now colorless and bleak. Here, Odio waits for them quietly at the top of Virtue's reward, ready for a final confrontation. When the heroes reach the summit, the malevolent Odio is waiting. With a voice full of scorn, he demands to know their reasons for fighting the others, deriding their motivations as nothing more than selfish desires. He then erupts into a monstrous, nightmarish form and engages the heroes in a fierce battle. After the heroes defeat his various forms, they transform into the purity of Odio and fight them once more. When they defeat him, Odio reverts to his familiar human form, Orsted. Desperately, he pleads with the heroes to kill him and rid the world of his presence. If the heroes comply,
Done!
Orsted passes from the world with only the name Alethea lingering in his final whisper. If the heroes turn their backs on Orsted after defeating the purity of Odio, this act of mercy shatters Odio completely. Left standing alone, Orsted, consumed by hatred, explodes in a rage of black flames. He pursues the heroes, catching up to them. He forces them to fight him again, this time against the very incarnations of Odio from their eras, proclaiming that this hatred is absolute and eternal. But when all 7 incarnations are slain once more, Odio collapses to his knees, baffled as to why his pure hatred could not achieve victory. His rage intensifies, drawing all the darkness in the world to converge upon him.
The mountain trembles. An earthquake.
It's growing. Thicker and more potent. He's calling it to him. All the darkness. All the hatred in this world. So it's not over, huh?
Not by a long shot.
Orsted, trapped within Odio's hatred, is transformed into a vessel for its final form, the Sin of Odio, which absorbs the heroes into one last terrifying battle.
Shifu's secret technique conquers all!
Cast flowers to the wind.
That's enough out of you.
I'm feeling judgmental.
Who's you?
God.
Throughout the fight, the possessed Orsted begins to remember who he is and who he once was. When the sin of Odio is finally vanquished by the 7 heroes, Orsted is at last able to free himself from the demon's evil grasp. He stands among the heroes and delivers the final blow to the demon, destroying Odio's evil for all time.
Now. Yes. Yes.
After the long battle is over, Orsted is still consumed by guilt for the devastation he has caused. But then, the heroes offer him words of kindness, which finally helps Orsted find inner peace. Having accepted his fate, he tells the heroes that they will soon return to their own homes. Before his body fades to dust, he leaves them with one final warning of what could happen if they ever succumb to hatred as he did.
Of dark abides the makings of a lord when watered well with hate, sweet hate. She springs eternal, sings all tempting draught. I'll drink of her again.
The heroes all take his words to heart as they finally return to their own homes.
I'll remember your words. And my Shifu's as well. Come what may, I'll look after my people.
About time we got out of here. I'm starting to get homesick. Guess I'll have to pick up from where I left off, looking for the next mountain to climb.
Whatever happens, we'll survive. That's what we do.
I still have faith. One day the sun shall rise. One day we will greet a new dawn.
And that is the complete saga of Live Alive. What an incredible journey through time, seeing how these separate lives all came together to face down ultimate hatred. From Pogo's first adventure to the final sacrifice of Orsted, this game is truly a masterpiece. What was your favorite chapter? Who was your favorite hero? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this epic story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time, take care.